Fighting Irish went into Fayetteville today to face off against an SEC opponent that is known for being very rugged and very tough to win in their own building. Want to find out which players stood out the most and which players were the game breaker in Fayetteville? Stay tuned to find out on Talk Like a Champion. Welcome back, Domers. Thank you all so much for joining us here on this edition of Talk Like a Champion. Of course, you're talking with the one and only Mr. CeeLo. And guys, I got to give a huge Irish gab out to Kevin, whom once again basically made a comment on one of my shows when we played A&M. We had a stating, dude, we had a great offensive showing. We scored 40 effing points. No, Kevin. Today was a great offensive showing. And we'll get into it, and I'll tell you why. Then I got to go and I got to talk to Steven. You made a comment, missed a couple of shots that would have gave A&M 14 shot points. We missed a couple of shots that would have gave us probably 70 or possibly 80.
What?
They count.
Bruh.
I just want to say at this point that Notre Dame, no matter what anybody wants to say about Arkansas, because this was the same team that was 2-0 and have dropped 3 in a row. And before we get into the dynamics of this 56-13 victory, I got a problem with the powers that be for Arkansas. Now, this dude, and the dude I'm referring to is Sam Pittman, head coach. Yes, you lost the game 56-13. What I don't like is a guy by the name of Jake Mozarski already putting the Sporting News article 4 minutes. This ain't even long after the game is over. He's already got an article saying, blowout home loss to Notre Dame has Razorbacks coach seat hotter than ever. This is a dude that, in my opinion, has made this team relevant in an entirely crowded Southeastern Conference. If you ask me, if it weren't for the money, these guys would probably be in the Big 12, and they would probably have a lot more success. What I saw was a team in Notre Dame that came out today and just showed everybody, we're not on Arkansas's tier. That's not a bad thing. And I know I'm starting to show off you guys this way, but I hate it when I sit here and I see coaches on the hot seat because a better team comes into their building and happens to show that. I mean, we can say the same thing about Illinois last week. What did they do this week, y'all? What are they doing right now? Somebody want to know? You guys want to know? You guys want to know what they're doing right now? Do you really want to know? Because the reality of it is I get sick and tired of hearing these individuals saying that they deserve more. Now, USC just jumped on top by a point. So, and it's looking as though Illinois is going to get the ball back, but that's neither here nor there. The point I'm trying to make is this. Even after a massive beatdown last week, I hate when I hear people sitting here already just talking about throwing the coach over by the wayside, especially one that has brought Arkansas to a place where, regardless of how ticked off you might be about it, they still are in a position to compete. I don't understand. Who else you going to get in there? That's the question. I'm sorry, Irish Nation, but I'm going off. This should be something I'm talking about on my other show. But this is something that's really irritating. It really bothers me because I don't like to see coaches get the walking papers that actually have teams that are, competing. And I saw that, and I really want to go ahead and say a few things to the horrible commentary that we had on the SEC network on ABC.
It's official. You suck.
Garbage. Early on, it was about what the Razorbacks didn't do, and not so much about what Notre Dame was doing. And to me, that was so irritating because when you sit and you place a narrative that's not necessarily true, or you're saying what you feel like is the right thing to say because you don't really know what to say. So I watched this game play out, and Notre Dame just absolutely dominated. And if you guys watched the show that I released last night on the preview of this game, I said just as such that we should run the football. But what I thought was absolutely just blew my mind was just how doggone effective at CJ Carr was. I mean, this is the first time I can actually say I actually enjoyed watching a Notre Dame football game where it was just absolutely back and forth. The game was just... Mike Denbrock couldn't have called this game any better from the distribution. Now, I will say that CJ Carr's got to make better throws when you start looking at giving these guys chances down the field. These underthrown balls, they can't happen. I mean, I'll take an overthrow in a heartbeat. But the underthrows are, because there were too many times we saw Fields get behind guys. That's not supposed to happen. Malachi Fields was getting behind guys. But try to get into the statistical aspect of it, guys. I'm trying to watch the Georgia Tech Wake Forest game, the end of this Illinois USC game. But yeah, I just had to get that out there because I do not like seeing coaches whose players they just got beat. And Notre Dame's defense came out there, and for all you naysayers out there, I think ultimately what it boiled down to was finally the Notre Dame defense was able to get some traction. And the scary part about that was it happened without Leonard Moore. They were able to get some big plays down and actually had an interception in this game. But what I was most impressed with was the fact that the CJ Carr just looked so comfortable throwing, and he's really, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I hate Jeremiah Love's going to leave. I would love to see Jadarian Price stay one more year because he does have that year of eligibility. I would absolutely love for him to stick around one more season and lead this running back room. Because we could go to a national championship and win it if he stays. Heck, we could win it if Jeremiah Love was to stay. But he's already projected to be a first-round pick. I know people are going to say, but that running back room is going to be crowded. I get it. I would do the best that I can, even though we've got was it Price coming back? Isn't that the kid's name? The big bruiser, the 240-yarder. I mean, this is a football team that is just absolutely looking as though we've got so much to do when it comes to the future. And I'm just absolutely ecstatic at what is to come from this football team. Even though this year is not over with, CJ Carr is showing, I mean, he is absolutely getting better with every game. He is just showing what he is going to be. This guy's going to be a Heisman candidate. Kedron Young, I'm sorry, you guys. But to see Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love and even Jabron Payne getting in there to get running back room is going to be fine. It is going to be fine. But looking over here and looking at guys like Cam Williams, Kevin Ballman didn't really get into on the action today. You did see Eli Raridan do his thing out there a little bit. Will Pauling, I was very happy about. But let me go down the statistics before I really start giving you guys a critique of what I saw on the first couple of drives. Total first downs, Notre Dame doubled Arkansas, 32-15 first downs, third down efficiency 6 of 10, although Arkansas was 7 of 15 on third downs. The yardage was incredible. 641 for Notre Dame, 365 for Arkansas. A lot of people are going to look at that and they're going to say, it's still kind of high. It is, but then you have to think, okay, we're in their building. We can't sit here and think that we're going to put out some kind of crazy, just irrational number in somebody else's building. We got to be more pragmatic than that. Rushing, 210 yards rushing to 158. That's not something that we're used to seeing still. 158 yards rushing the football, as well as 207 yards in the air. But compared to what I was saying to you guys online that were saying that Notre Dame, we scored a lot of points. Kevin, I'm not trying to put you out there, brother, but that's the thing. When you sit and you look at a team like this, you got to realize you're going to give up something. And there were a lot of times we did only give up a few things. But what really got me was the fact that we got the ball back and we went down the field like, hey, this is what we're going to do. There ain't nothing you can do about it. That was what I absolutely was just in love with when I saw it. We are just sitting there telling these guys, hey, there ain't nothing you can do about this. We're coming. We got the ball. You got to take it from us. And I'm going to be honest with you, there was a throw and that could have changed the course of the football game had he held on. And you guys know what I'm talking about. It's that throw where he got his hands on it, pretty much was about to pull it in, he dropped it. I would even argue this. I would even have been the argument that he had it long enough. But, according to the officiating, they said that he didn't have it long enough, thank goodness. But needless to say, I was very much pleased at the fact that they did not say that he had it. But as I said, looking at this game, it was a game that Notre Dame basically, Marcus Freeman had been begging for the longest time. Controlling the outcome early. That's what he's been wanting to do, is control the outcome early. Get ahead, do what he needs to do, and be able to control what the opposing team does. That's what he wants to do. And see, this is where I'm at with the whole thing. Yes, we were able to do that early. We were able to get some things accomplished in the run game, which was amazing. Amazing being that Arkansas knew what we were doing. And I didn't see them bring extra guys, which was an absolute shock to me. I thought for sure that Arkansas was just going to load the line and make us have to throw the football. On a couple occasions, that was the case. And truth be told, it looked more like that when CJ Carr started, hitting on a couple of passes. Arkansas was just kind of like, okay, are we still going to concede this? Couple of notes on the game early on. This is the most yardage that an SEC opponent has ever had run up on them. Second most, I think. Second most they've had run up on them in a game against a non-conference opponent. And this is why I say, bring on the SEC. And I can't give any more credit to CJ Carr and Mike Denbrock, because honestly, and as good as Kenny Minchie looked in relief, he dropped him in the bucket. I loved him. I think, like I said on my show, if you guys watched me, Kenny Minchie's starting to hear. He knows this is what separates him from CJ Carr. I don't care if he completes the short stuff. I really don't. And the reason being is because of his mobility. If he starts throwing the ball down the field, I mean, why do you think Reed is such a dangerous player? Because he's capable of hitting that long stuff. And then we saw his dangerous throws down the field was what allowed him to get all that easy short stuff, because, hey, we got to back off of him and we got to spy him at the same time. So it's a situation where it's like, hey, look, We can't play around. We have to make sure that we're in our positions. Same thing we did today with Arkansas. And I thought Green had a decent start to this game. But ultimately, the biggest issue you look at for this team was the inability for Green to be able to break down and get some runs. He did get that long one. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you look at this game and ask the question, where was the turning point? I think when we were able to get the football back, and I've said this, the middle eight, you guys, everybody's going to say that this game's turned after they didn't get in on that third possession. No, I disagree. I think the turning point came when we were able to get the football back and really put this game in a situation where we could score to come out to open the half. Because you think about it, where did we go from there? Where did we go from there? We went to a level of being able to win this game and really throw it down for the finish. As you sit and you see how the Irish were able to just impose their will. They got what they want when they want it. Denbrock had this Razorback defense on its heels so much. We got to go back and look at how many times we watched this Arkansas defense, and I got tired of hearing the analysts say, "Oh, they didn't give any effort. They were just out there." Now, I disagree. And how dare you put that out there? Notre Dame was just a better team. There was not a single player on there. Maybe that tackle and maybe that maybe Green. You might say maybe, but I looked at C.J. Carr and he was just absolutely terrific. Even Kenny Minchie's accuracy was better than Green's. Green's athleticism is not to be denied. Absolutely not to be denied. But there were too many times he missed on throws, and the 6'6" senior was just wasn't accurate. I mean, he's impressive nonetheless, but unfortunately, all he was capable of doing was running the football. He got a couple of good pass yards early on. The Irish tightened it up. And, you look here, you see 6 penalties, 60 yards. There were a couple of interference calls that weren't called. I really wish we could get a clear, definitive answer on what's pass interference and what's not. As I said, the 2 turnovers, the fumble was a huge turning point. I will throw that in there too, because it allowed Notre Dame to put up 28 in that second quarter, which was just astonishing in itself. And most people don't realize, and when I talk to people that don't really understand, when you shut somebody out in a whole half, that takes a lot. You could see there were some adjustments that were attempting to be made, but you started to see when you get in a hole like that, it's very difficult to get out of it. Especially when you're basically pushed into throwing the football. When Arkansas had their opportunities to keep the game even, they had a pretty good game plan. It just did not come to fruition as they would have liked it to have come. And I guarantee it's one of those where you just wonder, can we make enough plays? And they weren't able to make enough plays. And I'm going to say something about the Fayetteville crowd. I question, were they really prepared to win this game? And I'm talking about the crowd, because when you look at the crowd, they got loud. I think it was after. It wasn't but a handful of times. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this is a big dog coming in here. Your team has played well. It's up to you to take advantage of the opportunity to take a game over. I really never felt that Arkansas had a chance. Once Notre Dame ran the ball down the field and just really dominated that first drive, and then when they came down and got some points, and then it just looked like when they took the ball and got points, and then I thought that was the first mistake. I understand what you're doing, but you ultimately, and I look at it from this standpoint, you want to be able to win a possession. When you're on the road, you give the opposing team the ball for this reason. You want to get the ball back in the second half. That is the goal. That is always the goal. You want to be able to steal a possession, especially if you're the underdog. That's always my goal. Even if I'm the favorite, I want to steal a possession. Who doesn't? But Marcus Freeman and Denbrock game planned this beautifully, even with the turnover. You know, they had it where it was going to be very difficult for, I think they got the football back with, Notre Dame got that ball back with, Arkansas got the ball back with just under a minute. I think it was like 56 seconds left. And the turnover occurs. So Notre Dame almost played this perfectly. So they got it with 56 seconds back. And the fumble happens. So now Notre Dame's got 54 seconds to tear it down. And they run down the field in 15 seconds. And really, that really sealed the deal. You get the 10-yard pass to Jordan Faison, and then Jadarian Price takes it the rest of the way for the score to give them a 42-13 lead going in. Well, that would eventually be the halftime lead. But what really, angered me or really rubbed me the wrong way was the officials. The guys calling the game were like, "Oh, they're just giving up. It's just over." And then you have the nerve to come back in the second half and say, "We're gonna see what we can do to get this game back under control and possibly win it." And you guys are talking about, look, you don't give up in a game and then think you're going to come back. Look, that was 54 seconds left. Why would you give up? Your assessment makes no sense. But I've gotten way out of left field. As I said, looking at what we saw today from CJ Carr was just absolutely fun. I was overly impressed. I can honestly say that this was darn near the perfect game, even though Carr should have had an interception. Those are the kind of throws he cannot make. He's got to do better on his deep throw. He's got to hit them deep ones when these guys beat them. I get it. A lot of these are back shoulder fades that he does not have he does not have any fear throwing, but he's got to get more accurate because his receivers are beating guys. And I want from Tyler Wojak to the guys on Irish Nation and Irish Breakdown, we got guys that can get open. I think all of y'all owe these receivers an apology because it was all on them and Riley Leonard. No, Riley Leonard was the sole reason why we didn't throw it down the field last year. The only reason. CJ Carr, 20 of 30, 354 yards, 4 touchdowns, and nearly an interception. That was probably the lone mistake he made all game. And then when they ran that play where Jeremiah Love was supposed to pick up a block, he rolled right into the coverage instead of just kicking it back the other way and attempting to try to make something more out of it. Faison had a 40-yard bomb on a 4th down play early in the third quarter that nearly cemented the game. Kenny Minchie had a 37-yarder down the field. Beautiful drop in the bucket. I'm impressed with the fact that he is really trying to work on his game, more than likely to get up out of South Bend probably next season. I hate to see that, but you don't want to see a talented player such as Kenny Minchie wasted. He is considered a sophomore from Hendersonville, Tennessee, and more than likely that's where he's probably going to go next season, probably University of Tennessee, because honestly, not impressed with anything they got in Knoxville. I know a lot of you are saying don't place that on it, but it is what it is. I mean, this is a guy who's 1 year ahead of CJ Carr. And I know people are going to say, but he's one injury away from not being out there on the field. That's true, but when you got a guy that's got the talent of Kenny Minchie, and look around the league, guys, that's like Jadarian Price. We were fortunate to hang on to this guy. This guy could be a feature back elsewhere. Same thing with Kenny Minchie. I've seen some of the guys out there. Aguilar ain't it. Tennessee need to do a better job of looking. And I'm not trying to recruit for them, but I want to see Kenny Minchie succeed somewhere. He's too good of a talented player, and he deserves an opportunity. But you look at the running game, and it's the reason why I said what I said on my show Kevin, was because you look at this game and you say with a straight, and many people have said with a straight face, our offense played great. This is when your offense plays great, ladies and gentlemen. You did have 30 pass attempts, even though I still thought it was a little bit much, but they were great throws. But you look at the balance, y'all. It's not just the feature back scenario anymore. Price, 13 carries, 86 yards. Did I not tell y'all? Jeremiah Love is a great player, but everybody's beating on him. He had 4 touchdowns. 14 carries, 57 yards, 2 touchdowns. But Price had 13 carries, 86 yards, and had a 6.6 average per carry. I'm starting to see Denbrock starting to get his swag a little bit with this offense. See, most of us don't remember that Denbrock had to water down his offense last season because he had to go with a strictly running style type quarterback with Riley Leonard, which I question that too, because in that championship game, even though Leonard threw that bad interception, throwing the ball down the field was not a problem. Just saying. Great to see Jabron Payne get a carry. He had that 24-yarder. Nolan James, great seeing him out there. He had a 15-yarder. Aeneas Williams had that 17-yarder. And going into the receiving court, now this looks like a really, really 5-star, top-of-the-line offense when you look at the numbers on our receiving core. Jordan Faison, 7 grabs, 89 yards. Malachi Fields, 3 catches, 72, including that 40-yarder. Jeremiah Love, 5 for 70. That's what you love to see. Will Pauling, 3 catches, 53 yards, and that touchdown. Eli Raridan, 2 grabs, 43 yards. They had nothing but praise for him on the telecast. Probably one of the few things that the broadcaster said that I actually was on board with. Matt Jeffrey had a 37-yarder that he caught from Kenny Minchie. Then Jadarian Price had that 35-yarder to close the half. This is a dude that, he always figures out how to get in the end zone. It never fails. Just like he did in the Purdue game last year. He catches the football, goes and houses it. Jaden Grayhouse had a great catch, 2 for 32. Great to see him getting the football and them making a concerted. This dude is too good. And I said it on the pregame. Guys, there is no reason why Jaden Greathouse should not get the ball. Not only will that open up things for Faison, Fields, Pauling, Raridan, but it opens up things for the running game. This dude is too good. And one of the guys on the telecast said it. They got to find ways to get him the football. And if you got guys in the SEC who don't even like us saying this, don't you think we need to make this a priority? I'm just absolutely ecstatic. I'm about as high on cloud 9 as I was down in the dumps from that Texas A&M loss. And now you're starting to see people start to take notice. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, it's Arkansas. But then you got to think, we went into Fayetteville and did this. But we ain't done. As I said, we pretty much shut down this Arkansas offense, and the defense just absolutely great. Adon Shula had himself a game. Tay Johnson had himself a game. Should have had him an interception. Boubacar Traore, great game. Had himself a sack. Jordan Patella and Jalen Sneed also got in on the sack party. You look at the tackle totals. Jalen Stroman had 4. Drake Bowen had 4. Bryce Young, somebody that was highly talked about on the telecast in to play-by-play announcers. But ultimately, when we look at this game, Christian Gray had an interception they should have snatched down. You look at the expression on Marcus Freeman's face. These are plays you got to make. You're an upperclassman. You have to make these plays. But all in all, just an absolute beautiful football game. Luke Talich had a great interception on an overthrown ball by Green. We're seeing a lot of young guys out there playing, doing a great job, and it's just absolutely fun when you get to see these athletic guys out there doing what they do. But I'm going to say it in this sense, and I'm going to finish off on this. Great win. Chris Ash did a much better job today sending the blitz. He did a much better job of game planning against the running ability of Green and the throwing ability of Green. And he was missing. He wasn't doing what you saw Reed do. So, in a sense, when you watch Reed play, he's much more on target. What you're seeing out of Green is a sophomore, a freshman version of Martell Reed, and unfortunately, this guy's a senior. But 56-13, an impressive win. I'm very ecstatic. A lot of people are going to say, oh, well, you beat an unranked 2-2 team. Well, you beat a team that was that gave away, arguably, 2 football games. So, ultimately, when you look at guys like Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, what their numbers look like right now, you're going to start seeing them creeping up into the Heisman watch list because their numbers are just absolutely impressive. And with the games that the Irish have coming up, it would not shock me if the Irish are try to use Price and Love to win the Heisman so that they could garner more attention and whatnot. That would be a great idea. And even C.J. Carr, you got to start thinking about him as a possibility of sneaking into this thing because ultimately his numbers have not been that bad. You take the performance he had today, 4 touchdowns, 9 puts him up to 9 scores and 2 interceptions, and the 400 yards puts him up over 1,100 yards in 4 games. He's roughly right there at 300 yards passing. And then you look at what Jeremiah Love now has with the 2 rushing touchdowns. Jadarian Price now has 6 scores on the year rushing, and then he's got his first receiving touchdown. And I don't think in Notre Dame history there's ever been a guy to catch 2 touchdowns and run for 2 touchdowns in Notre Dame history. So there was some serious history on our hands today. And Jeremiah Love just continues to impress along with Jadarian Price. He's the silent killer. And as I said, you got to love the Price. And the price is love. What's the price? Love. That's going to do it for us as the Notre Dame Fighting Irish go to 2-2, and they prepare for a showdown with the Boise State Broncos as they go back home. That game is scheduled to be on Peacock and will be at 3:30. And the USC Trojans, the Irish will face off against the USC Trojans, who dropped their first game to Illinois earlier today. But until we meet again, make sure you comment down below, as well as like and subscribe to the show. Finally, make sure you go to my Facebook and add us as a friend and join the group. Finally, make sure you go to my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo so you can catch up with all the shenanigans that I will be caught up in. But until the next time,
may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun rise warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.